Hey everyone, so this is not normally the content that I do on this channel, but this is for a class assignment. So, hey classmates, I had issues dealing with getting Yuja downloaded and using it and whatever. So, I'm just gonna make use of YouTube and do it this way instead. So, we were given challenges for this assignment. And so my challenge was the creativity challenge. A little bit of background on it. So, hypothetically, I am in a team of animators, and the company wants us to do a different way of creating some animations for a story. Usually, what happens is directors come in and they pitch an idea and we kind of pick one to do, but this change is happening where we need to originate our own stories and create animations for it. So let's get into this. So the first question is, how will you explain the design process to your team? So I do this a lot. I talk way too fast and I do it when I'm trying to sound smart, but anyways. So the design process includes emphasizing, defining, ideate, prototype, and testing. So, the first step in that is empathizing. So, you need to know first the difference between emphasizing and sympathizing. So, empathizing is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, where sympathizing is feeling the same thing. So, somebody might feel sad, and you can feel sad too for them. Now, empathizing would be feeling sad, maybe over a loss of somebody, and you're feeling sad too because you too have gone through losing somebody. I don't know why I just used that really dark example. Excuse me. Example, but I just did. So, so the first step in this is empathizing. So, you want to start interviewing and observing your team. So, in my situation, what I would do first is observe the people who are struggling to adjust to this new change. Then I would just have a conversation with them and ask them, what's holding you back from this change? You know, part of empathizing with people is also a little bit trying to be personal to them. Then your next step is defining. So define what is the purpose of your job? How is it going to benefit you in the future? Or really us as a team? How is this new challenge going to benefit us as a team? And how is it going to benefit the company in the future? Now, I kind of did have to laugh when I read this scenario because originality and creativity is something that all creative people thrive on. So I'm a creative person too. I do theater and I do dance and everything like musical related. And so with a lot of people I've met doing what I do, we love creating our excuse me, our own stories and originating our own ideas with things. And it's really interesting when you get a group of theater kids together because who the stories that they can tell. So then we have ideate, which is solutions. So this is the part where you can brainstorm with your team and you can map out ideas. And that's exactly what I would do. I would brainstorm with them first and then map out some roadmaps and see what happens. Next is prototype. So this is testing the assumptions. So from a brainstorming session, maybe you then map something out and you have 1 to 5 ideas, you know? So at least 5 ideas out there. You can pick, I would pick 3 to start with, and then you just test them out one at a time. And that's the last phase of this is testing. So we got 5 ideas. Maybe I pick 1, 2, and 4. And I say, okay, we're going to test one out first. We test one out first, then two, then four. So that's the process of it. It's very collaborative, which I love because that's what being on a team really is. So then the next question is, what specifically can you do to foster a psychological safe environment during the design thinking process, such as brainstorming and an ideate phase? So, I took a few online master classes when the world shut down, with Broadway professionals, and I got to sit in a master class with Ariana DeBose, who is actually going to be hosting the Tony Awards coming up here this weekend, actually. And she said a quote that I think really applies to any creative person working in a creative environment. And that is, you need to create safe places to do dangerous work. So, in the sense of theater, you're asking people to be emotionally vulnerable. You need to create the safe space for that to happen because that is dangerous work. Asking somebody to be vulnerable is a very dangerous situation. And the same thing applies in this scenario of being in an animation studio, you know, originating your own ideas. That's a very vulnerable work too, because you might be grabbing things from certain situations you've gone through. Maybe it was a loss of a loved one, or maybe you do go down a psychological whole and you talk about the anxiety and depression that you have been facing and you create a story out of that. So I think the same thing applies to this as well. It really applies to anybody, but I think especially for people in the creative environment. So that's what I would drill into my team's brains. Mhm. And I would assure them like this is a safe place and it's okay to be vulnerable and to share your emotions. Especially this sounds weird, but especially if there's guys on the team because guys just haven't been given the okay to do that. So that's what I would do. And the last question is, what factor would you use during the process to promote team creativity and innovation? Explain why. So I would use conflict. So individual studies suggest that group conflict can spur creativity and innovation by encouraging information integration, particularly on non-routine tasks like brainstorming, which, as you know earlier, is what we did in the ideate phase. I hope I'm saying that right. So that is my answer to this assignment, the three questions. I hope you learned something. I hope I explained this well enough for you to understand. And I'm hoping that even though I might not have the software, I can look at your videos and see what you guys came up with. So, bye.